Hey everybody, guess what I made? Cross-eyed casserole. Why is it called cross-eyed casserole when it just has chicken, potatoes, bacon, and cheese? Well, because it's so damn good that when you take a bite, your eyes will cross. I mean, they're gonna cross so severely that you'll be able to read an open book, both pages at the same time. I'm serious. Let's look at it. Look at that. Crunchy cheese baked on top to perfection. Let's get a bite that has a little bit of everything. Check it out. It's smoking hot. It could potentially burn my whole face off, but I don't care. I have to go in. Mmm. 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 Makes you feel good all over. Check out how to make it. Oh my gosh. You're gonna love it.
So this recipe is inspired by a French recipe for potatoes gratin. Gratin. However, we're going to Jimmy dig it up and we're going to put some extra flavor in there. Now, if you're looking for a casserole that does not have cream of mushroom soup or any kind of mushroom products in it, this is your recipe. However, not that I love cream of mushroom soup, but there are people out there that do not. So I'm going to cut this bacon into lardons, which basically means I sliced it up, and then we're just going to cook it until it's nice and crispy. And then we're going to drain all the fat off. Now I have 2 chicken breasts. I'm going to trim up all that gross excess fat, because who wants to eat that? Not this guy. Then I'm going to cut it into strips. And with those strips, we're going to cut it into little bitty bite-sized pieces. Now, you may be thinking, Jimmy Dick, why didn't you use thighs? You know breasts dry out so bad in the morning. Normally, that's true. But with this recipe, the chicken is so tender, so juicy, and just so good. Now I put them in there and salted and peppered them a little bit just to give them a little seasoning. Next, Gruyere cheese. Nothing says France like Gruyere cheese. It's just a wee little block that I'm going to grate it all up. If you don't like Gruyere or you can't find it, replace it with Swiss. You just need something with a little tang to it, a little extra bite. You can also use mozzarella if you're not that adventurous. It'll all come out the same, just the flavors will be slightly different. Now, Parmigiano. You can use the shaker can stuff, that's fine. We just happen to have this, and so I thought I'd grate it. What a pain in the neck that was. I got a 1/4 cup. That's it, just a 1/4. Especially if you're using to grate yourself, it's strong. So in here, I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to melt it and then add some goodies to it. There's my bacon. Leave that for a second. So potatoes. I'm doing 4, or actually 5 russet potatoes that I peeled. And I'm going to cut them as thin as possible. Now, when you're cutting by hand, you're going to have some that are thin, the way you wanted them, and some that are not, and I'll show you what to do with those. Once we get past this laborious effort of cutting all these potatoes up. Okay, bam, they're done. Now we need to do 1 onion. So I'm just going to cut off both ends, which is the fastest and easiest way for me. Cut that baby in half. I'm going to peel off the outer skin, revealing the nice, tender, flavorful onion. Now I'm going to slice these as thin as possible as well. I'm going to slice them both up because I'm going to use them for, and the reason I cut it in half is I'm going to use them for strips. If I left it whole, they'd be ringlets, and I didn't want that. So we're going to break these apart anyway before we add them to cross-eyed casserole. I'm here to tell you. So, pro tip, if you're going to need to spray something, get your can of spray out and set it in there until it's ready to be used. That way you never forget. So, I have sprayed the bottom of my pan. Now we're going to do a layer of potatoes. Now, I was saying some are going to be really thin and some are going to be thicker. So for the thicker ones, you want them to be on the outside of the pan. It's that simple. Put your thin ones in the middle and your thicker ones on the outside. And that way they cook evenly and they'll all be done at the same time. Don't forget those little bitty nubbins that you can find and plug a hole up with. So, now we're going to season the potatoes. Why? Because potatoes need salt. They sure do. Salt, salt, salt. And pepper. Next, onions. Just break them apart and throw them on there. You just want a layer of onion pieces all over the potatoes. These things are going to melt down and become super soft. They're going to impart their flavor into the potatoes along with the salt and pepper. All the things necessary to make you cross-eyed. But if that wasn't enough, bacon. I go cross-eyed for bacon any day of the week. I'm here to tell you this casserole was so dang good. I just now can see this morning in order to make the video. I was speed reading books all night long, reading both pages. Next, we're going to do half of the chicken. That was half of the bacon. Now we're going to do half of the chicken. And you can see they're teeny tiny little bite-sized morsels. Are they good? We're putting it in raw, but it'll be well cooked. Trust that by the time it's over. Wash my hands because they're gross. Now with clean hands, I'm going to sprinkle on some of that Gruyere. Now I'm not going to go crazy. Probably somewhere between a quarter and a third of a cup. That's it. Because we're going to have several layers of this. So you remember that butter I melted? Well, I forgot to shoot this part, but what I added to it was milk, maybe a half a cup of milk, and 2 eggs, and salt and pepper. And I'm just going to spoon about half of that over what I have down in the skillet already, in this baking dish. This just helps add to the creaminess of everything in there. It's French. Who knows why they do what they do, but their food is good. We're going to go back to repeating that same thing. Potatoes, the rest of the bacon, the rest of that wonderful chicken. Of course, I didn't show the onions, but they're there, trust that. And now we're going to spoon the rest of this on there. And I say we're going to spoon it. I basically spoon it until I get tired of spooning it. And when that happens, I'm just going to dump the whole bowl in there. Because, you know, this spoon is ridiculous. Here's the onions I forgot. Hey, it doesn't matter what order they go in. As long as you have all those ingredients between the layers, you're golden. Now, on this layer, I'm going to add that 1/4 cup of grated Parmigiano cheese. It just adds that little extra something, something. All these things are important. And again, with the Gruyere, same amount. I'm not going to overdo it and go crazy. We're not making mac and cheese. This is creamy potatoes gratin with chicken and bacon and cheese. So good. Now our final top will be potatoes. Yum City on the potatoes. And once that's on there, I salt and peppered it a little bit, just a very little bit. Now we're going to do heavy whipping cream. And again, because it's so thick, you don't have to put a lot on. But this is going to seep down as it bakes, and it's going to get in between all those layers. So you want to do somewhere between 1/2 cup and 3/4, no more. You don't need a whole lot. But this just also, it makes this casserole so decadent that you're going to love it. Now, is it ready for the oven? No. Heck no. Or as I say in France, no. We gotta add cheese, right? Yeah, we gotta add cheese. We're gonna blanket this baby with some Gruyere after I salt and pepper it. Some more of that Gruyere. You can even use mozzarella or Swiss, like I said. This Gruyere makes it funky, and it's so good. Gruyere is France's choice of cheese for like quiche. It goes really good in quiche. Now, are we ready for the oven? I think not. Why? Because we need to add us some cheddar cheese. Cheddar. Why cheddar? Because it's better. Oh yeah. I'm here all week, folks. Tip your waitress. Anyway, we're going to sprinkle, again, about maybe 1/2 cup over this 9x9 baking dish. And the reason is, I love it when you bake it and the cheese crunchifies on top and it just seals in all that flavor. And speaking of baking, this goes into a 350-degree oven for an hour to an hour and 10 minutes. And when it comes out, the magic begins. Voila! Look at that. Now we're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes before we dig into it. Should have been 10, but you know, homie got hungry, I couldn't wait. Now watch this. You know this is perfection when this happens. Most casseroles, because of the cream mushroom soup, are way too soupy or thin. You could never do this. Look at this. Booyah! Look at the heat coming off of that. And believe me when I tell you, the potatoes are cooked to perfection. Everything in here is creamy, but it's not soupy. Hope you liked the video. If you like this video, please hit that like button and consider subscribing. Peace.